I give a fuck? Why do I give a fuck? Why do I try so hard? Why do I care so much?
Welcome to Why Do I Give a Fuck? A cross-cultural conversation between myself, Deanne Tate,
and Johanna Thompson. In these times of great struggle and possible shift, we ask ourselves,
why do we give a fuck about any of it? How does the lens we see the world through impact what we see?
And what do we do about it?
Hello, my friend.
We always start out with a smile when we see each other.
We do. We do.
So that's so nice.
I'm always so glad to see you.
Yeah, thank you. Me too.
I am particularly glad to see you this time because, boy, you have had a week.
I have had a weekend, so not even a whole week, but actually a week preparing, and what we're talking about, having our own intimate conversation, but for our listeners, talking about me getting over to the islands, to Jamaica.
Yes, you finally made it home.
Made it home to see the impact of Melissa, which is a devastating, clear impact. I'm overwhelmed. I can say I literally am just off of a flight getting back, and this is a turnaround trip so that I can get more generators on the island. The most critical thing that's happening is that there's no power, and in the areas that were hardest hit, so the west side of the island, starting from the neighboring parish to Montego Bay. I'm just going to name the places that people would know in a larger thing.
Yeah.
Going all the way up the west side to Westmoreland, which is near Negril, and going all the way around the back towards Treasure Beach, which is Mandeville. And I'm saying all the way around the back. I'm talking like a Jamaican. Just go up the road all the way around the back. Go
right around the back.
And you'll find the destruction. Laughing and smiling. I'm laughing and smiling because my people are joyful people, and folks are happy to be alive. For those that are alive, there are people who are not. And those tolls and numbers and counts won't be able to be completely known at this point in time because of the devastation. There's communities that still are inaccessible because of deep roads, puddles, and debris all over the place. In the major areas where people need to have access and transport, like the airport in Montego Bay is pretty clear and open. It's open for commercial flights. Most of the main roads, the hip strip, if people are familiar with that, and Top Road, those areas are open. You can drive through downtown Montego Bay if you're going that way, and then going out towards Whittier Village, or going in the direction of Ocho Rios. That entire A1 is open, but the devastation is real. As I was coming down on the plane, I asked to switch so I could see a window, so I could see what was going on. And if anybody has landed in Jamaica, you know that you are coming into the most beautiful, plush, green, luscious islands. It's
paradise.
So it is paradise. A lot of the Caribbean, but Jamaica has a distinct lusciousness with the heavy foliage and all of that kind of stuff. And that's when my heart started to beat the hardest at that moment, is when I saw the land and it was completely brown. There was green nowhere. It was completely brown. I don't know, there's no before and after pictures that I can give. I'm holding them in my mind. But to see the land completely brown, to be able to actually see the land, to actually see the structures that are still remaining and see them in a different way, because I'm typically used to seeing them surrounded by foliage. So they're kind of hidden, or you see pieces of things. Now you can see whole entire structures that are still existing, and then all of the rubble that's around.
Right. So for folks that have never been to Jamaica, what you're describing is that the trees are gone.
The trees are completely
gone.
The trees are gone. And that's just, that's just unheard of on that island. It's unimaginable. And we're talking about the areas that was hardest hit, because there are other areas that are intact in a better way. And so it was a lot. There's a lot going on. I don't even know where to start. I'm going to invite you to ask me things that you're curious about, and then I can try to give you some answers because there's so much to talk about that's going on this island, and all of the help that can come. We have a thing when a disaster happens and we start hearing about American Red Cross, and we start hearing about friends, and we start hearing about other people doing things. That's not enough. The devastation is so intense that's not enough. It's not enough. It's not enough. It's literally just at the beginning of starting to clear a couple of roads, but we're talking about whole entire communities of people up in hills that are not accessible and have no power, no light, and no form of communication. So for us, even in the situation that I was in, where I was able to be in a villa that was able to hook up situations so it felt comfortable, but still today when I got up, the water was gone, and waiting for a water truck to come and fill a tank took all day long. And this isn't a privileged situation that I was in at my actual home that is unlivable. You can't be in there in this moment. And so it's going through the process of getting it to a place where at least it can be utilized as a shelter for folks that don't have homes. And a lot going on. So
let's give a little context for folks. So you've been back on the island for just a couple of days, right? 48 hours? Yeah. And it took you that long to get back on the island because the airports were closed and, trying to get airplanes in. I was so glad because I knew you were really chomping at the bit, but you were working while you were stateside. You were working, trying to source generators and chainsaws and figure out how to get these items that you were able to find back onto the island. So you were doing a lot of work before you left, but then getting onto the island, first of all, you just mentioned your home. Tell our listeners, what is the status of your home? Is your roof totally gone? Is it mostly gone?
It's not totally gone. 40% of the shingles. Well, I got a percentage, about 40% of the shingles. When I was there, it looked more about 75% of the shingles
are gone.
We're off of the roof, down in the yard, broken up all over the place. So that's also something to be able to navigate all of the broken everything, trees,
right? Yeah,
windows, glass, and everything is all on the yard. It's inhabitable because there's no water and there's no current, and it was raining when I landed, and so I know that impacted my house. Upstairs is flooded. It was flooded in my house. We cleaned it out, but it was flooded.
Right.
And I am back to get bigger, heavier tarps to be able to bring onto the island to be able to put up on the roof so that then it can take away from water getting into the house.
Right. And we stop the damage from continuing.
There are 2 windows that are broken, and then people are in need. My home is in a neighborhood that is a little bit more affluent, so now there is a concern about securing your home, because people that have needs will know that there are homes that are empty from people that live foreign and things like that, and those homes need to be secured is the way I want to see it.
Right. and you rent your home. So does the person who owns your home, do they live local there, or are they accessible?
In Jamaica, they're in Jamaica, but they're in a completely different parish. They're in Kingston, and so they're 3 hours away from Montego Bay. They did come and assess the home, and even if you have homeowner insurance, that's not going to help or anything for years. I'm going to say in Jamaica, not months, for years, because there's just too much devastation and destruction on the islands. And there wasn't really that much communication because didn't have, when I was at my home, there's no current, so I don't have Wi-Fi, I don't have accessibility like that. But then the cleanup and the shock of the experience of coming into a place and recognizing how much of a cleanup needs to happen, how much of your property got destroyed, what it's going to look like to kind of put something back together in a way that feels comfortable to you. And honestly, at this point in time, for me, because I was renting or am renting there, it just feels like a very unsolid moment, and because community around me, everybody is trying to deal with how are they going to put their lives back together. And I don't know if
Right.
people have been in that type of situation. I know that we've had devastating hurricanes here in Florida, but I've never had to actually experience this. What does it look like to put my life back together?
Yeah, and that is it's intense. It's definitely, and I wonder too if it's compounded. I imagine it's compounded by the fact that you've been on last episode or a couple of episodes ago we were talking about you've been in Jamaica for almost 2 years now, but that's still not a long time to establish your, who you can rely on, how you can communicate, how you can connect. And I know that neighbors are coming together and stuff, but I think in the U.S. on U.S. territory, we have these devastating storms, and even though our government is not, behaving in a way that any of us are terribly happy about right now, when there are disasters, people step up, and there's an infrastructure there that folks can lean on some level, even though, we saw incredible devastation when Helene went through the mountains of North Carolina, and my sister lives up there. So I got a bit of a personalized view of how that was impacting the area. But there's still infrastructure in this country that's not always present already in other places. And so, yeah, I can just imagine that because you're still learning the space, you're still learning how to navigate the way their government works and the way, you access things. I would imagine that makes it even harder to really conceptualize how you're going to be able to create a home that's habitable again. So,
well, how I'm going to be able to exist, because I do come from a very U.S. cultured understanding. So yeah. I'm there like, okay, why aren't we recycling the zinc that everybody uses for their home? Because there's zinc everywhere, but it's broken zinc. And Jamaicans are explaining to me about Jamaica. We've sold the bauxite, which is the primary ingredient for zinc, but we don't produce zinc on the island ourselves. So there is no big factory to melt down and to repurpose that zinc at all. So
when you're saying zinc, can you explain I'm not sure I know what that is, what you're referring to.
How about that? Let's back up. So
I know you take zinc sometimes when you're feeling a little low on the minerals, but I don't know.
Yes, I remember I'm not on the island. So
question mark.
So there, a lot of the roofing and a lot of the structures are built with zinc. Zinc is a form of roofing that's like a grooved tin. Like it's
okay.
A lot of people were using zinc, like in the hills and things like that.
Gotcha.
A constructed community, and you've built your home on your own, and you have less resources. Zinc is one of the primary things. Zinc is used as a roof. It's used as a fence to enclose your home. It's used for a ton of different things.
Lots of stuff. Okay.
Zinc is being very hard to find on the island right now. Any type of construction stuff is being hard to find on the island because everybody went to go get their products to try to rebuild their homes. So those who have the resources are trying to import big crates of those type of things into the community. No, and to your point about the government, our Jamaican government is run completely different. So any type of subsidy support, that does not go on. So healthcare, if you're sick right now, one of the problems is that there's not very many hospitals that are existing and functioning. Okay. When I was there, we went to pick up a woman who had just given birth. So we're picking up a brand new born baby. She had given birth the night before, and she had to get out of the hospital the next day to make room for the beds because there's not enough beds for all of the pregnant women that are in there. There's water on the floor. I didn't take a picture of that because women were just having babies, and I wanted to be respectful.
Privacy,
and also respectful of the conditions that are there.
Right.
In the healthcare facility. So but the floor is muddy, and there's water on the floor with newborn babies, with women who don't have the same mobility because they've just given birth. So we don't want them to slip. We don't want their babies to be, surrounded by dirt, mess. That's what's on in the maternity ward. But again, mamas and dads are receiving their children coming out of the hospitals and are happy and joyful that they're alive and that their baby came healthily, delivered healthily, and the baby looked like it was perfectly fine. To have a picture of him, and then driving her home into community, everyone, running to the car, happy that the baby is coming home. So to see like the joy of people and relationship is the thing that is really so special to be able to experience, rather than like horror and terror. It's more like, yes, new life. We're here.
New life. Absolutely. Did
And
they
then
name her Melissa? That's the question that everybody's going to be wondering.
Right? No, her name is not Melissa. Her name is Zara.
Her name is not Melissa.
Not Melissa. Too soon. But anyway, but driving up into the home, again, from a USAN context, I'm like,
right.
Oh my God. I'm like, no, there's no babies don't have to be in a newborn carrier in the car. That's just, I was like, well, wait, don't I have to get in the back because the baby seat? And they're like, ha ha ha. That's not what we do.
That's not happening. Yeah.
And then driving into the home, they literally just had to, they find some zinc that was around and just kind of lay it on the rooftop because they're bringing home new baby. But the rest of the home is completely gone. So there's 2 rooms left. And there was about 6 children. And then all of the foliage around the home that would have been, food on the trees, the aki tree. Speaking to folks that are really familiar with the land, I'm talking about aki trees not being there, breadfruit trees not being there, any of the trees that we're used to, the soursop trees, the banana trees, which is a huge staple there. Everything is gone and wiped out. And for over a year, there's not going to like that level of.
It's going to take that long for things to regrow. Yeah,
it's not. And when I say that, going to the supermarket is not the way that we typically sourced our food. The farmers would bring the food down to market. It's called market, not supermarket, but market. And that's how, you buy your produce. That's what most people are used to. The prices of the stores are much harder because a lot of that stuff is like imported material that visitors typically go shop out of. There's no chicken on the island anymore because the chicken coops and all of that kind of stuff, or whoever were the chicken farmers. There's fish on the island because the fishermen are there fishing. But that is going to increasingly become an issue. Not having food to just eat off the trees, or the farmers to bring down the food in the way that folks are used to sourcing their food. Yeah. As people are clearing roads and trying to rebuild houses and trying to create access to the people who we haven't even made any form of communication or connection with. So the level of devastation on the west side of the island is super high. It's nothing that I've experienced. There was another neighborhood that we drove through at one point, and the gentlemen were like, do you smell that? And it was a rancid smell. And they were just like, well, those are the bodies. There's something culturally in Jamaica where you don't touch dead bodies. The morgue has to come and get them. So the families and all the folks in them are not going, they're going to be there until morgue can come and pick them up. But if the road is not clear and things like that, then that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
So this one neighborhood area is really hard to drive through.
Wow.
Just because you can feel the energy of the space, not the humans, but you can feel the energy of the space and the smell. There's not people like so many people walking around because the devastation is so high there.
Wow. Well, I want to talk a little bit about, because when you were still stateside, before you were able to get back on the island, you had your brain is always thinking about how rapid response. What am I going to do? What are we going to do? And you came up with a concept, and I think in thought partnership with other folks. But I would love for you to tell us, just in the time that we have left, what that concept is, because you're going to be rolling that out, coming up here soon. And I know our listeners will want to know how to help. So I want you to have the floor to tell us about that initiative.
Thank you for that. Yes, no, it's really important. The thing that is most critical on the island is current. That's what we call it. Electricity. Needing electricity. And it is an island. The electrical poles are down. So they all have to be rebuilt up. The wiring is above ground, so they haven't even gotten into fiber optics or any wiring under the ground.
Right.
And solar really makes the most sense on the island. And so my my knowledge about the vulnerability of women and girls on the island is really very high. I've always thought that there was a reproductive issue with women, the way that they're on the roads, on the streets. The roads aren't paved in the most effective way. And so pebbles are always flying, branches are always falling down. And I've always been like, oh my goodness, the women and the children. But in this moment, particularly when there's this level of devastation and there's very high gender roles there, so the women are not going to be expected to be out there cutting cheese and pulling bushes and moving branches and picking up zinc. That's just not going to happen. That's just not what goes on the island. But there will be an expectation of taking care of the children and being out of the way so that cleanup can happen.
Gotcha.
And there are so many people without any form of communication. So my rapid response to that is to make sure that there's 500 backpacks that are at least as a proof of concept delivered into Montego Bay. And I'm starting there because that's the place that I'm most familiar with. Into Montego Bay to get 500 backpacks into the hands of women and girls. And the backpacks are solar powered backpacks, which will allow women to be able to charge their phones, charge any of the like necessity things that you might need. It's also inclusive of survival materials. We know that getting resources like period, menstruation, how do we say, are necessary.
Supplies.
Supplies. So we're talking about having reusable underwear that women can have. We're talking about flashlights. We're talking about whistles so that people know that they're coming or that they're around or that they need some support.
Or that they're in trouble. They need support. Yeah.
We're talking about even a mat, because a lot of people are trying to just find shelter in a place that there is shelter. And so being able to have like a survival mat where they can have something at least to lay on, those ones that the Army uses. So real necessities that are in this backpack, and particularly into the hands of women and children. And why that's really important is because then that also creates a communication network amongst the women and children to have mutual aid, what we were talking about on one of our episodes, and a level of collectivism that is necessary at this moment to help people to, one, survive, and or to get out of harm's way, and or to provide support for each other. And that's one thing about the gender roles. The women do play a real critical role in that level of keeping community together, especially in the moments when there's a level of devastation that we're experiencing on the island now. So it's Light Her Way initiative. And the light is the solar light, it's double entendre, but it's also lighting the way towards rebuilding Jamaica in the way that we are used to being able to experience and love the island and the culture and all of the beauty and the people. So, well,
I think it's a beautiful initiative. And so I just want to say quickly that you're going to be rolling this out, in the coming weeks. And so we will be adding this information on our link tree that you can find on our social media platforms, on our website. If there's I don't know if you're planning on doing like a dedicated website with the information. So those URLs, you'll start to see those things roll out in the coming weeks, and with donation buttons so that you can donate and support Jay in this effort to source these backpacks. I think it's brilliant. A backpack with a solar panel is it's a no-brainer how that will change the experience and the it's late and I'm not coming up with my words. Self-sustainability. There we go. Self-sustainability in a moment when, they're in dire straits. But I think, and you and I have talked about this, I think this initiative will be helpful to women and girls even after some rebuilding has happened, and even after, for hurricanes to come, because this is an island in the Caribbean. And so this will not be the last storm that hits this island. So I think it's a beautiful initiative, and I'm really excited for us to be at least planting the seeds for people. So stay tuned for more information on how you can help with that. And we'll be rolling that information out in the coming weeks. So, but you're back stateside, right? So you're trying you've got stuff you need to source, right?
We need to get more generators onto the island. That's
okay.
scarce, and obviously every single home, every single business, like when you're on the island, you don't think about, oh, the ATMs are not working because there's no current.
Right.
So then people don't have any money to actually purchase any food or supplies.
Right.
Like
Right.
can't get money out of the ATM, not because they don't have it, but because they can't actually access it.
Right.
So it's like little things like that, that we need to make sure that there's enough generators on the island in this moment, that there is current that's accessible, and that people are just paying attention and not forgetting Jamaica, because it's like, a week past the storm. It's going to take years and years and years to rebuild. And
Right.
there's a lot of brilliant people on the island that are coming up with wonderful ideas, like solar cities. And I'm talking about Jamaicans, solar cities that, they want to help construct. Folks are really doing a wonderful layout that we don't typically see, but like their local communities. So like the business owners are the ones that are supporting and helping their employees with help rebuilding their homes.
Wonderful.
They're the ones that are holding them in their houses, because their houses like haven't had the same level of destruction. So
Right.
you see that type of collective community that's happening in Jamaica, which is a part of the strength of the spirit of the people that I really love and appreciate. And I'm feeling anxious to get back to the island and to keep on supporting and helping. But then also for a woman like me, myself, I have the privilege of continuing to leave and then come back, where there's 70% of women are not having the support, the ability to leave, the ability to have mobility, the ability to have communication, and the ability to take care of their health. When I was listening to a report as I was coming over on the island, it was the Minister of Health, or one of the major healthcare providers, who was saying that the elderly and vulnerable children and women were going to die. And he said it just like that. Like that was the news report. They're going to die. And because of the dysentery, because of mosquitoes, because eating food that might be unhealthy and getting some type of virus in the stomach.
The bodies of the deceased that are not being picked up as quickly as one might like. And
amongst live people, dengue fever. So it's bubbling up. Right now, they're trying to do the best job that they can. I'm going to give Jamaica and the administration and the people that are coming to the island to help. They're like kudos, they're flowers right now, because the major roads are cleared. They are cleared.
That's amazing.
In Montego Bay.
That's amazing.
Things can go through. We can see tractors moving to places. We do see the constabulary force, which is what they call law enforcement there. We do see them out and about, and the cars out and about. And then we just see a lot of community work, which is what we expect to see, because there is no subsidy from government to support.
Yeah. So folks, we can't forget about Jamaica. I think we get very, we get all riled up when the storm is approaching, and we're, anticipating what kind of damage and devastation is going to be. And then it happens. And then it's, the news cycle is full of reports of how things are. And then 48 to 72 hours later, it's quiet. And that to me is when, especially for islands like Jamaica, where, like you just named, all of the things that are coming, they're coming, they're happening now, and it's just going to get worse in the coming weeks, because it's a race against disease, and it's a race against the weather. I mean, you said when you finally got back on the island, it was raining when you got there. And so it's tropical area, right? And so rain is going to happen, but that just makes it worse in terms of the conditions that the people are living in, without proper shelter, without proper access to food and medicines. And just imagine the people who maybe were on medication don't have access to that. So it's a snowball effect in the wake of the storm. So we just want to just reiterate that we can't forget. And so I want to remind folks to go to our website or go to any of our social media platforms and go on our link tree, and all of those resources that you and I talked about last episode. That was like a really long one. It was an hour long with lots of information. Those resources, I know, kudos to all of you who listened to all of that, but there are a lot of resources on our link tree that are from that episode, and we'll be adding things more, as especially Jay, if you hear about any other resources that are doing good work. Like I learned about about an organization out of Texas called Operation Airdrop, and I connected you with them. And I don't know if you have been able to get anything to them, but maybe.
I've been trying to reach out, but they've been busy. But
yeah. The email seemed to be the best way that they were communicating with me. I wasn't getting a lot from phone, but it sounds like if you just take the stuff that you get to that depot, they'll get it on an airport. And so this is a great organization. They source private pilots from all over. I get the sense that it's mostly U.S. pilots, and they just do flights to get resources onto the island. So I don't know what the system is for distributing those resources once they get there, but it's that kind of collective unity, community kind of activity that is going to be a lifesaver for so many folks on the island. So
exactly what the island needs. And this is not a cleanup that's 6 months. The beginning of the cleanup starts is now through 6 months. Yeah. This is going to take years to rebuild the island.
Yes, it will. It will. When
people decide that they want to come and see the island, you'll be able to understand what we're talking about.
Yeah. Right now we're in rapid response, immediate need, and that kind of thing. So stay tuned for more details about Light Her Way. We will be pushing that information out as soon as we get it all together. You've already, your brain I just want to give you some flowers here for a second, okay? Because I love this woman and I want to, it's like your brain just like there's a need and your brain just goes, poof, what can we do? And all of a sudden, so Jane texts me and she says, okay, I've got this idea for this initiative. I'm going to share a folder with you, and give me some thought partnership on this. I look at that folder and there are assets. There is copy. There is, I'm like, have you been sleeping at all? So, no, you haven't. I know that's very true. So I just, kudos to you. I want to give flowers to you that, your organizer brain just goes into overdrive immediately when there's a need.
And shout out my friend. There's a person who came on.
Yeah. You've got other. Who else? Let's give them their flowers too.
Janet Reeves is the organizer. That is the organizer brain. And together, we come up with the ideas, and it's always a community of people that are there supporting, and that's what we always need. The more thought partnership and the more diversity of thought that we have in the room, the better we can source like what is needed in moments and get it out there. So. Absolutely.
All right, my friend. Well,
I appreciate you.
Good luck with all of your sourcing and safe travels when you get back on it. Shout out to your daughter works for an airline. Do you want to say what airline and give them a shout out? Because American Airlines.
American Airlines, because it is really allowing me to do this. There's a little funniness at the airport, but we got through it because we keep resilient, and we're going to make sure that folks get what they need.
Yeah, so want to give them a little pat on the back and see your daughter works for them, and so you're able to get on standby flights, and they worked with you to get. They weren't terribly happy about getting chainsaws on the airplane, but you got it done. So
done safely. Maybe we should talk about that if other people are trying to get stuff onto the airlines. We're only allowed to take one generator per reservation. The chainsaws and all of that kind of stuff can have no gas or anything. They need to be absolutely brand new.
Understandable. Right.
Yeah, we want safety. And you need to get there early so that they can put all of those things. And it's going to cost you money because all of this stuff is costing money. They're going to charge you oversized fees, but it's worth it because the people in Jamaica need it.
You know what? That's a good point. So let's give everybody your Venmo, your Cash App, your PayPals. What are your let's get that information out there. If you want to donate to what Jay's doing, then let's get a way for them to give you money. So what are we doing? What's your pay apps?
On Cash App, I am Priceless Black. You'll find Priceless Black on Cash App. And then what I would invite people to do is to stay tuned for the donate button, because I would love for all of the donations to go directly into Light Her Way. And you can do that at u360ideas.org. We'll put up that information, but you can reach out to us and send money through that nonprofit organization, which is holding this initiative for us.
Okay, so we've got Jay's Cash App for immediate stuff that she's sourcing right now. That's the $ for Cash App, Priceless Black. So that's on the
you.
on the screen right now. For those of you who are listening, it's $PRICELESSBLACK. And then the next I'm going to put up here is your U360 ideas. Is that the right URL?
All right. Yes.
Okay. So https U360 ideas.org. So you can donate through that and help Jay get the rest of this stuff together so that she can get it back to those new mothers. And we learned something tonight, right? We all now know what zinc is and what zinc is used for on the island of Jamaica. So thank you for teaching us that little bit. But anyway, much blessings to you, my friend, and safe travels when you go back. Okay.
Thanks everyone for listening. I'm glad that we can have joy, and we're holding the spirit of Jamaica with the joy with which we're talking about this. But really, it is a devastating, and we have to laugh to keep from crying. That's what I'm doing.
Yes, absolutely.
We want to bring back Jamaica because not only is it Jamaica, but it does have an impact across the world. Everybody
It does.
Something about a little bit of Jamaican culture in their world.
It does. It does. All right, my friend. Well, we'll see you next time.
Good night. Bless.
Why do I give a fuck?
Thanks for joining us. Until next time, as you move throughout your day, continue to ask yourself,
Why do I give a
Why Do I Give a Fuck is produced in collaboration with Johanna and Deanne. Music by Norwegian musician Water. See you next time.